records show that waiting lists for gynaecology appointments across the UK have more than doubled in the last 5 years, with problems ranging from, as we mentioned before, endometriosis to incontinence, which does affect about 3 million women in the UK. Now, it can be an embarrassing topic to talk about, but it's an important one to discuss, and it's one that you've been really open about, Denzi.
I have. I mean, I can't remember when I didn't wet myself, to be honest, or a giggle dribble, as we call it. Because I have a kind of that sense of humour, I have, used this show as one of many, platforms to be able to talk about incontinence because I'm not embarrassed about it. But having talked openly, if ever I've done a talk anywhere and I've talked about, weeing myself, so many people have either got in touch with me online or come up to me and said, thank you so much for talking about it. I've dealt with this for years. We assume it's often post-childbirth, but actually, there are people in their teenage years who, for all sorts of reasons, suffer from incontinence. And because it's embarrassing, people don't talk about it and don't look for help. And there are lots of ways that we can help ourselves. You call it Kegels. Janet and I had never heard of Kegels as regards...
I thought it was a new breakfast cereal.
I don't know if that's a new...
Have you had your Kegels this morning? Because we called it it was just pelvic floor exercises.
Well, I don't know if that's like an Americanised term or if that is like just a new term, but when I was making the documentary that I made about plastic surgery and we did a vagina episode, seeing those women and seeing that they're striving for surgery, whether it was cosmetic related or, functional, I was literally, my eyes were opened up to like, OK, is incontinence something that we all actually need to be thinking about? Me in my early 30s, not had kids. I'd never thought about it. The only time I've thought about it is when I've had too much to drink. So I was like, that is something that I was educated to. And then my gynaecologist, I was with him one day and he put his hands there on my stomach. He said, can you sit up? And I was like, yeah, because he was checking my core. And he was like, are you doing your Kegels? And I was like, am I doing my what? And he was like, are you doing pelvic floor exercises? I said, no, should I be? And he was like, yes, you want to have kids in the next couple of years, start now.
Basically, you've just got to cleanse.
I was like, yeah.
Just but also what we eat and drink really affects our bladder that I didn't really know about because we don't talk about it enough.
No. But we've got Dr. Rosanna in the audience. Kegels, pelvic floor exercises, the same thing?
Yeah, pretty much so. And I do think it's important to start early, I think, when you first find out about them. And not every woman that actually goes on to have children will go on to have any form of urinary incontinence. Some people say that it is the pushing out of the baby if you're having a normal vaginal delivery. I hate that expression because if you've had to have like an emergency section like me, you're made to feel abnormal. And others say that it is actually the weight of carrying the child for 9 months. But there are lots of other reasons why people can get incontinence.
So what would you recommend that somebody that does have it, what should they be doing?
Well, obviously, there is a range. There are some people who have a little, giggle sprinkle and can put a pad in and it's actually easy to manage. But for others, it is totally debilitating for their life. And when that happens, it is really important that they go and see their GP and go and have a proper consultation with a gynaecologist because sometimes, not in every case, but sometimes you can have surgery and that can really, really improve the situation for you. But it's so important to understand that you don't have to go through it alone. Yeah. So many women at all sorts of ages are living with it.
Yeah, and both Denzi and Liv have spoken about just the numbers that are affected by this.